GIRLSCAMP, it's Girls Camp.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Girls Camp podcast. I'm your host, Haley Rawl, and I am thrilled to be joined today by Ellee Duke.
Hello.
Welcome.
Meow.
We were just saying this has been a long time coming.
Oh, like years.
Years.
Like since you started.
I know.
Yeah.
And we've been in contact. We've been like sort of passing through similar places, but it just hasn't happened until today.
It's perfect.
Which
it's kismet.
feels very kismet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to read your intro. Ellee Duke is a Billboard charting recording artist and songwriter with credits for artists like Slater, Lucas Graham, Charlotte Lawrence, and Walk Off the Earth. Her latest single, Poster Child, which was released September 12th, reckons with her Orthodox Mormon upbringing, which is a theme we are going to be diving into today.
Let's go.
Yeah, which is part of why it feels so kismet that you're here. I don't even think I told you this, but I have had multiple listeners sending me your videos, sending me Poster Child specifically, and they're like, you need to talk to Ellee. I'm like, I know, I've been meaning to.
We've been chatting, girls.
Yes. So we finally got you here. You have quite the story. We've been voice memoing, so I got a little preview.
I know, sorry, I sent you so many.
No, it was perfect. I can't wait to unpack it all here. We're going to be talking about your Mormon upbringing, where you came from, and then a lot about where you are now and how your music and your art is a way of, as I see it, as an outside party, reclaiming, kind of rewriting a lot of things from your past. Mm-hmm. So let's start with the Mormon stuff. When did Mormonism first enter your life?
Well, before I was born, I was just born right into it. Parents both grew up in Mormonism, so it was just like my family. You know, you're just like, that's all you know. And so, you know, from super young.
And you were in Utah as well, right?
Yeah, Utah.
Born
so
and
I grew
raised.
up in South Mountain and then Draper.
Okay. Yeah. Very Mormon communities.
Very Mormon, yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what else to say about it. I mean, like my parents were just kind of amazing. I mean, are just amazing people. Very just like strict, kind of typical Mormon household, Mormon family.
Would you say pretty orthodox as far as Mormon
Orthodox
practices?
Definitely, yeah. Like we would get up at 6 a.m. during the school year to read scriptures and like pray, and
that's maybe
church.
Even beyond orthodox.
Yeah, maybe a little.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think. My family was, I don't think we woke up early to read scriptures. That would have been
like
quite
every
the
day.
fight. Wow.
Yeah.
How many siblings do you have?
I have 2 brothers.
Okay, so the 3 of you.
Yeah, one older, one younger.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Doing all the Mormon things.
Mm-hmm. Mutual, family home evening, period.
All the stuff. Mm-hmm. What was it like I feel like it's usually around adolescence that if there is friction, I mean, maybe there's some childhood stuff in there as well. When did you start to feel friction within Mormonism?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I feel like for myself personally, both of my brothers have their own journeys. And I feel like growing up, being the middle child as well, I was kind of, my role very quickly became kind of be the good kid, because both of my brothers kind of had their own little rebellious teenager times, of course, which is so normal. But I think that I was always trying to keep the peace. And so as I, started pursuing music super young and ended up moving to Nashville at 18 to sign this deal that I signed with Big Machine, which is a company out there. Yeah, I think that I just started to notice a lot of things as I moved away. And I think that's when I finally felt allowed to even feel tension or confront tension, because I think for so long, my situation was just trying to hold it together because of the other things that were going on in my family. And it kind of felt like there wasn't a lot of room left for like me to have problems or tension or questions. So I kind of was just like, keep it together, be the good girl, be the good example. And I was rewarded for that too. I was kind of praised and like, this like girl in the community that's pursuing music, and she's so Mormon and she's such a good example. And so I was like, hell yeah, man. But then I moved away and it was like, wait.
Then you were kind of able to see that contrast. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like so much of your life journey, not just faith religious journey, is also really closely connected to music. Because even in that answer, you're talking about music. So when did you come to music? How did that tie in those years when you were still at home before moving to Nashville? How did that tie in with faith stuff and with this need to be like a good Mormon girl?
Yeah, so I started writing songs when I was 5. My parents had put all of us in piano lessons, and so I started taking piano when I was 5, I guess, and hated practicing, hated the classical songs. I was like, I want to play like Little Mermaid songs and like Disney. Like I just wanted to sing the songs that as a little kid you're like seeing on the TV and hearing on the radio, and so I just started writing my own songs. And I think as a young girl, I didn't see a lot of women that I felt like had a strong like voice in like the community, in just like, you know, it's like women are given these very specific roles to be like a mother and you know, support the husband and all these different things. And I think as a little girl with, you know, this love for music very early on, I dove into music as I think a way to find an identity outside of this identity that was like handed to me. And so I think music became like this safe space for me where I felt like, oh, I can like express like all the things that I am scared to say or that I'm feeling or I don't know how to cope with. Like that kind of just became what music was for me, kind of like a lifeline.
Yeah, wow. And like an outlet.
Yeah.
And it sounds like from what you were saying, maybe subconsciously, I mean, I don't know at what point this may be materialized, but kind of an alternative life path even.
Like an escape.
From the Mormon way, or the, you know, I think for a lot of women in a lot of communities, the kind of path laid out of you're going to be a mom. So focus first and foremost on motherhood.
Yeah.
Do you feel like before moving to Nashville, because I want to get there, but do you feel like as you were trying to be that good Mormon girl in those earlier years, did it take a toll on you to do that? Or were you also not able to really recognize that until moving away and kind of looking at it in retrospect?
Yeah, I think I had kind of disassociated from what I was actually feeling, because I think starting music as young as I did, like I started performing when I was like 12, 13 years old. I was like opening for artists at like the Sandy Amphitheater at like 13 years old. Like, so I would have like moms in the audience, you know, come up to me and be like, my daughter is watching you, like you better stay modest. And like, we're all like, and it was kind of this, and I don't think there was a bad intention behind that. Like, obviously you want your kids to have good role models, but I think it just over time, there was like this pressure put on me that was like, oh, you're kind of becoming this person in the community that everyone is looking at. And, you know, I ended up performing at like my middle school and I played original music, and then I got a standing ovation in like 7th grade. And so I was kind of like, I was feeling like a rock star sort of, which was what I wanted to do. And it felt like the only way for me to do it where people would be okay with it was if I was also this super Mormon, really good example, like righteous girl that was kind of, you know, it's like the mom saying that to me, it's like, okay, well, I can be a singer as long as I'm perfect.
Yes.
As long as I'm the perfect example, then I can do this. I can have this identity.
Oh, yeah.
So that's how I sort of, I guess, compartmentalized all of it, where I was just like, okay, in order for me to do this, I have to be perfect in this way. And then people will support it.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you feel like there was the missionary work kind of thing?
Very much so. I remember before I moved to Nashville, I had like a blessing from, I think it was the first or second counselor in the bishopric at like this ward that I was in. And it was just sort of a blessing he was giving me as I was moving and like, you know, starting my career at 18. I mean, I graduated high school early, so it was like a really big deal. And to sign with Big Machine, like that's Taylor Swift's at the time label. Like, so there was a lot of like hype, and I was like, that was like literally my dream place to like sign with. And so, you know, I got this blessing, and even like in the blessing and after the blessing, it was said to me like, as long as you're righteous and faithful, like God will continue to bless you with success in your career.
Ugh.
And so it felt like because I was being this good, righteous example, everything was working out for my career because God was allowing that to happen for me because I was so good and I was so perfect.
Which also comes with the downside of if you do slip up, then that is going to have ramifications on things like your career. Yep. Yeah, that's so interesting. I think about this a lot with famous Mormons and how there is that really interesting like allowance sometimes within Mormon culture. I mean, the way that I remember noticing this hypocrisy even as like a teenager, but you look at like football players like Steve Young, who I don't know if he's Mormon anymore, actually. I assume he is, but he's this big Mormon football player and he would play football games on Sunday, but yet, you know, in Mormon doctrine, you're not supposed to work on Sunday unless you're like a nurse or whatever. It was like, oh, well, he's given a free pass because he's also then going to be a missionary to the world and leading people to the gospel through doing this thing. There's a very interesting kind of balance, double standard situation.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of pressure on anyone who has any visibility and is also Mormon to use their visibility to then promote Mormonism.
Totally.
So you go to Nashville at 18, fresh out of high school.
You've only high school early.
Crazy.
I went one day and was like, nah,
get
me out of here.
Ready to go.
Did packets. Yeah.
You moved out to Nashville yourself. Or were you with anyone?
My parents drove out with me.
Yeah, and dropped you off.
Yeah, and helped me move into this little condo I was renting, and
wild.
And that was it.
So you are signed with a record label. You're in Nashville. That's when you said you started to maybe start feeling some friction, maybe questioning things. What was that like?
Yeah, it was like the first time that I had been outside of the bubble that is Utah. And, you know, it's like I'm going from living this life in high school to now I'm like in my career and I'm like working every single day with like other producers and songwriters. And my sort of goal at the time with Big Machine was to like develop as an artist. And so I'm now making all this music and trying to find my sound and trying to find my identity as an artist now in this kind of level. And I feel like a lot of things I noticed really quickly was like how much I loved all the people I was meeting and working with and how different they were from me. Like one of my closest friends was Jewish and another was Buddhist. And there started to kind of just be this like natural, obviously you become friends with people and you start talking about life and beliefs. And I think I very quickly was sort of just like, why am I right and they're wrong? And it was sort of that part of myself that kind of felt like my ego a little bit that was like, I have the truth though. And like, you don't. And it was like this questioning of myself of like, wait, like, do I actually think that though? Like, do I actually believe that I'm like more right than they are? And I didn't. And I think it made me, I was like, whoa, but that's kind of the foundation of the Mormon church is that, you know, it was literally started on someone saying that, you know, they've seen God and God has told them that this is the only true church. And so that was a bit of a little mind off.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting with Utah Mormonism. And I think I know there's other pockets that might be similar to this, but I do think Utah Mormonism is such a like cult within a cult, as I sometimes call it, because you don't really have that realization.
Yeah.
And even if you rationally know, like, it's not like we didn't understand that most of the world was not Mormon. You're mostly interacting with Mormons, so you're not really having that dissonance of, oh wait, I'm really being told again and again, this is true, this is right, this is the right way.
Yeah.
And you don't have much challenging that if you're not interacting with other people.
Yeah. And something that I've looked back on and noticed is like, for someone who was raised in Utah with how saturated it is here with people being Mormon, like the number of friends I had that were not Mormon and the guys that I dated like so often the ones that I think cared, like got the closest to, were not Mormon. And so it's interesting looking back on that. I remember one friend I had, I think we were in like 6th grade, and it was when Katy Perry came out with I Kissed a Girl, and I like wasn't allowed to listen to that song, but like she wasn't Mormon and her mom loved the song. And so her mom would like take us home from school and we'd just be like, I kissed
You're like, hell yeah.
like my little like 6th grade self, just like, you know, like out like living this little piece of like, I just wanted to enjoy art, but I couldn't because, I'm not saying, you know, everyone can have their own opinion about that as a little kid, you know, what they should be exposed to. But it's just interesting looking back on how much I was sort of subconsciously just like trying to experience just life and humans and people. And I just wasn't ever like looking at people that way. And I don't feel like my parents taught me to look at people that way. Like my parents definitely were like my mom very much just like, I remember this experience where we were school shopping and we went to PacSun at like Southtown Mall, and my brothers wanted to get like skate clothes and whatever. And I remember the guy that was helping us was like head to toe tattoos, piercings, like smelled like smoke. And like as a little Mormon kid, you know, you don't see people that look like that often.
Pretty rarely,
versus LA where I live, where that's like every person on Hollywood Boulevard. But like I remember my mom was just so kind and so nice, and like she didn't skip a beat. And like after in the car, she was like, I just want you guys to always remember to like be kind to people and like love people, because you never know, like that could have been like Jesus. And like she taught like really sweet lessons like that I feel like I really like grasped onto those things as a kid.
Yeah, that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
I do feel like I've been thinking a lot about this right now with like the state of politics, and I feel like there's kind of this increasing divide. I've noticed, maybe just because I keep an eye on this specifically, but also it feels like there's an increasing divide between like religious and non-religious people. And I have been thinking about how sad and also silly that is, because now as someone who is no longer religious, so many of my core beliefs and values and morals even are pretty much exactly the same as they were before. Obviously, a lot has changed for me, and I feel like I've hopefully gotten rid of the more harmful dogmas and things like that. But as far as those core principles of love your neighbor, of, you know, we're all children of God, even though I conceptualize that differently now, if anything, I feel more strongly connected to those things. And I feel like that's such a sad misunderstanding, maybe on both sides of the fence, because hopefully that's what people are all trying to do, right? Is be more connected with themselves and with humanity. But when there's these labels on it, it tends to get divisive, and there's a lot of othering that can get really complicated, 100%. Which is why it sounds like when you got to Nashville and you're meeting these people who have different religious beliefs, but you're like, well, I fuck with you, and I feel like you're a good person. So what does that mean about the right, true one single way? Yeah.
And I went to like a Buddhist like prayer circle with my friend, and I went to like, I was kind of going to other churches and just experiencing that. And it was all just so beautiful, where I was just like, I love all of this. And I don't really think that like just being in one thing, like I don't think I can fit into that. You know? Yeah.
Is that where things really started unraveling at 18? How much longer were you in the church after that?
It's interesting because it's like, you know, I'm 18, I'm living in Nashville, and it's like there's no one that's like, you have to go to church. So I was going to church because I felt like, oh, I should do that, and that's the right thing to do. But there definitely was times that I didn't go, and I didn't feel bad about it or guilty, which I feel like, you know, being younger and at home, like even if you were sick or like missed church, it was like that feeling of just like you did something wrong, you know? And so it was interesting to finally feel like I had agency. And it's interesting because I think that was something too for me, that I was like, it's part of like this doctrine of, you know, the church, you know, Jesus choosing this path that was about people having agency and whatnot, but not really feeling necessarily like you can make a choice because of the repercussions and the fear and all these things. And so I think it was the first time that I was starting to just, you know, like not do all the things that I was taught to do, and like, how does this feel, you know? And I was kind of exploring that, and I was surprised by, you know, how I didn't feel guilty the way that I did, I think, when I was so close to home and when I was home. But I remember like even, you know, piercing my ear a couple times, and that was sort of this like thing, you know. And
I remember it was kind of a big deal if you had more than one piercing. Yeah,
it was. And like now it's not at all.
Yeah. How old are you?
I just turned 30.
Okay, we're the same age.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a cartilage piercing. It was actually right before I put in my mission papers. I don't know. Weird. But I remember it was like a big, like, I was,
hurrah.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, who knows what was going on there. But I like saw my mom and like had my hair over my ear, and she was actually fine about it. But yeah, I mean, even those, just for people who don't know, like that is actually a somewhat significant act of rebellion for an active Mormon.
Especially like as a girl too, I think there's just there's pressure on men as well, but I think there's just a different pressure
absolutely
as a woman, and how you're supposed to represent yourself, especially like image wise.
Absolutely.
I remember coming home to visit, and I wasn't hiding it. I was not like, you know, trying to be secretive about it, because I loved it, and I thought it was so cute and fun. And I remember like my dad, like the whole weekend that I was home, he was just like staring at it in this way that I like, and he wouldn't acknowledge it, but it was like this level of trying to make me feel like I'd done something wrong, and very, very passive, like uncomfortable, like energy. And he wouldn't look me in the eyes when I was speaking to him. He would only look at the piercing. And I love my dad so much, and you know, it's kind of a complicated relationship, but it's like that, even then I was just like, I literally pierced my ear. I'm the same person. I'm still the same girl that like I have been. And like, for me to do something, like, to me it was small, because to me I was like, this is a suggestion that this man that, you know, for at the time that I'm like is a prophet. You know, I don't feel that same way now about prophets, but like at the time, you know, I was like, that felt more of like a suggestion than like, if you do this, you're gonna be like damned or go to hell.
Yeah.
Or like, but the way that it was received to me from like a parent, I was like, oh, like there's a shift now that I'm like feeling, you know. And
especially when you'd been good girl, it sounds like, for most of your upbringing.
Yeah.
And I think parents oftentimes see those things as like slippery slope.
Slippery
slope. The slippery slope. As slippery slope, where it's like, okay, it's just a piercing, but where does that eventually lead to?
Yeah.
So when did significant cracks start to form? When did you start really questioning your beliefs?
Yeah, I think it was after I had moved to LA. I had been there for almost a year, maybe, or a little less than a year. And I think just like moving to Los Angeles, like I'm one of those people, like I love Los Angeles. And I know that it's like, it can be a very intense state, but like I've learned to love it, and like the people there. And I think it gets such a bad rap.
Especially amongst
of course,
Mormons and Utah Mormons.
It represents like this place of freedom and expression and like rebellion, or just like, you know. And I think as like a very sheltered Mormon girl, like even going to Nashville was still very conservative. So then going to LA, it was kind of the next level of like, it feels a little more like you're kind of in the real world now. And it was so exciting to me. Like, I remember the first year I lived in LA, like I was just like, I can't believe this is my life. Like, it was just, and I started to not go to church because I just didn't feel like the first friend I had in LA was this amazing, amazing girl who was gay. That was my first friend. And she invited me to a non-denominational church. That was my literal first friend in Los Angeles. And so like that was sort of just like where I was at, you know, and I just was like, this feels more like the people I connect with and just like are more open and accepting, and there aren't like all these little things you have to do to be worthy or loved or accepted. So that was a big piece. And then I dated somebody who had previously been Mormon, but he was out, and it was right when I was kind of trying to figure out what I was doing. So I was in like a really vulnerable place with like my beliefs, and he was like very intense with us being physical. And there was a lot of things that happened where I felt very like pushed and manipulated to do things that I didn't want to do. And I ended up losing my virginity to this person. And it was a very like confusing experience. And after that happened, I just like freaked out because I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know if you had the cupcake lesson.
Yeah.
I remember being 12 and having that lesson where, they have a cupcake and the teacher comes in and, it's like, who wants it? Everyone raises their hand and then they take a bite out of it. Who wants it? A few people are like, hee, me. Like, I'll still eat it. And then it's like they pour dirt on the cupcake and it's like, who wants it? And no one raises their hand. And essentially it's like, that's your purity. And anytime you give it away, you're giving this piece of yourself and then no one's going to want you.
Yeah. If you're not a virgin, then you are not, then you're a cupcake that nobody wants that can never go back. Yeah. Awful.
So that, like, I hadn't even really, like, honestly, I was like such a good girl to the point that like, it was a little bit 0 to 100. Like, I didn't really go very far with people physically up until this relationship where it was pushed so much. And so it was very like, it was traumatizing, honestly. And I didn't know who to talk to about it because I was just like, I didn't feel like I could talk to my parents, and I didn't have that many friends because I just moved to LA. So I was very isolated kind of with this big thing that had happened, which to me, some of it felt like abuse and some of it was just like, it was just really confusing. And I ended up, going to my bishop in LA and kind of telling him everything. And the way that he handled it was very just like, well, you lost your virginity and, this is the process for you to like be forgiven and kind of earn, like, it was very kind of just like, you have to kind of earn back favor with God and you need to earn your worthiness back.
And sounds also just mechanical.
Yes.
In an approach to something where you had been taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And
I'm like sobbing and crying and just like this. Broken. Like I was literally broken.
Yeah. And the response is not, are you okay? Or like how the way that consent, I mean, I have different but somewhat similar story about a boyfriend I had in high school. And we didn't end up having sex, but like a lot of pushing of physical things. And I was so young and so naive. And I just feel like I didn't know. I can just relate to what you're saying. And I just always think about going to the bishop and sobbing and telling them what had happened and never once being asked, is this consensual? Are you safe? Are you okay?
I was never asked that either.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Not even a consent.
But I was asked about all the details of physically what happened and touching and
where and
when
how.
And how many times and which looking back at, like, I have a lot of anger about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Still.
I mean, especially when you already feel like you've been violated, when you had been violated, and then that...
And I don't even know this man.
Yeah, it's an extension of the violation. Yeah. And then on top of it, it's like, okay, well, now you're unworthy. And if you want to be worthy, here's XYZ things you have to do.
Yeah. And I think
I'm
because
so sorry.
Also with the aspect of my career with music being so wrapped up in me being this good, righteous girl, I think that's when I started to really spiral into like, oh my gosh, like God is going to punish me now. And I got so stressed about all of this that I ended up missing my period.
No.
And I thought I was pregnant. And because this was like right after a lot of this had happened, and I'm in this like heightened state of stress and all these things. And so I had a total freak out and I ended up literally going to my OBGYN. Like she was like the first person that I told and talked to about any of this. And I wasn't, but even that experience for me was like, oh, God is doing this to me to punish me. And he's scaring me with, this is what can happen when you do something like this. Like this is your fault. And that was like a very dark time for me. Because then I started to really, my mind was just so like, the meaning I was attaching to so many things was like from all of that fear. And I was giving all these things meaning where it's just like, maybe you just missed your period because you've been in this toxic, abusive relationship with someone who is like still harassing you to get back with them and you've had to block them. And like, your body and your spirit is like damaged from what's happened.
Yeah.
But instead of me being able to see it like that, it's like I put all the blame on myself and was like, this happened because you are a dirty whore who fucked up and lost, like, and you went against everything you knew and you were taught. And so this is what's going to happen to you now. So
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
It's so maddening and enraging in every single way and on so many levels, because I also think about how you were probably particularly vulnerable to that situation because of lack of education, because of purity culture, and because what purity culture had taught you and also not taught you about what's actually important to understand when you're in any sort of sexual situation. It's just really, really,
I
really
knew
frustrating.
Nothing. Like I was the most like innocent, naive, just like so naive. Yeah.
And that I think can largely contribute to, because I mean, if you're never taught consent, and there's also these layers, I don't know if you felt this way, but I know I felt this way before, of, okay, I'm supposed to be like a good, accommodating person. So you don't even really know how to say no to anything, not even to mention that sort of situation. So
yes, that's a huge part, I think, too.
It's just so unfortunate. I'm so sorry that you went through that. And then we're met with that kind of response from the bishop.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that was kind of one of the few people you felt like, well, I can at least go to this person and tell them.
Yeah.
And being met not with help, but with further shame is just really awful.
Yeah. So that was definitely, I think, the real beginning for me of like actually experiencing that level of shame and fear, and then my mental health like completely deteriorating from that experience on. It was like I couldn't recover, and I got my recommend taken away. I wasn't allowed to take the sacrament for a year. I think I also wasn't allowed to like have a calling.
Yeah, I think they do that sometimes.
So, and then it's like, but you have to go to church. And I had never in my life not taken the sacrament if I was at church. So like, it was just so many like 0 to 100s of like, oh my gosh. And I met Austin around this time, which is my husband. So he's kind of seen a lot of like this part of my journey of like when we met, I was just in like a really rough place. But I think the next thing that happened, that really changed everything for me, and I think was like the cherry on top, was my uncle was gay. And in 2018, like around New Year's, I had been on a camping trip in Joshua Tree, and I get a call from my mom that they can't find him, and it turned out that he took his life. Sorry, I still can't talk about it without crying.
Understandably.
Yeah. And that was just, that like completely like blew up my world. And like, it's like you don't know how to like cope. Like I was like 22. Like I didn't know how to cope with something like that happening. And I just couldn't comprehend like, and the things that like were taught to him about himself and like what being gay means in Mormonism and religion, and kind of like this hopelessness of like, what happens if you act on it, and what's going to happen in the next life, and you're not going to be with your family, and like all these aspects that I just was like, I don't believe any of that. I don't believe that. And it was really hard to like even be at his funeral. And I love my family and I respect what my family believes, but there was this like clear divide between his friends and the family, because I think his friends, they knew a different version of him. And there was kind of this like tension even at the funeral of like how people were speaking of him and almost being offended by people saying he was gay and even referring to him in that way. And I'm just like, we're upset about that?
Yeah, of all things to be upset about.
Like, he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
And why is he? And I know ultimately that was his choice to do that. But it's like you can't not take into account what someone is taught to believe about themselves and their salvation, and like these really intense things about your soul. And like, it's like that is going to damage a person to a
Absolutely.
point that it will lead them to do something like that.
Absolutely. And we have statistics to prove it, right? Like
100%.
it's so unfortunately, it happens a lot. And we have the statistics to show that it happens a lot because of how difficult it is to be a queer person and being told those things about who you are.
Yeah.
So I can imagine experiencing that up close would just cause you to question everything.
Yeah. I remember I had written this song for like, because this was obviously still when I was much like in the Mormon church still and trying to be, but I had written this song for this like kind of Christian album that I'd been asked to write a song for, and I ended up doing it. And my family, I remember, had asked me to sing that song like at his funeral, and like I just remember standing up there and like I couldn't like sing. I couldn't do anything. Like I just stood up there and cried. And yeah, it was just devastating. It was just so awful. And I think that it was hard too to kind of feel like my belief system and everything I thought I knew had just blown up, and life kind of continued on, and there wasn't any conversation about it, or like even him being gay was like this very secretive thing in my family that like you just didn't really talk about, you didn't acknowledge it, like, and it was just kind of this hush hush thing that I was very frustrated by and just like didn't understand. And so yeah, when all of that happened, like I think I just checked out pretty fully, but I was still in it because then I still got married in it, you know, after
Because you got married in the temple.
Yeah.
Do you feel like when you got married in the temple, how out were you?
Yeah, so I had met Austin almost like a year from when my uncle had taken his life, and meeting Austin was like one of the best things that ever happened to me because he was just such a different. I'd never met someone who was Mormon who was just so unconditionally loving. And I think meeting him, it was like the first time in my life that I had experienced someone just loving me exactly the way that I was. And we started dating not long after this experience I'd had with this ex-boyfriend. And he ended up being one of the first people too that I told like all of what happened to. And so he was like very much a part of kind of supporting me and like helping me kind of just heal, and he was very like supportive of me struggling with Mormonism. Like it was like the first time that I was able to just like be honest about everything I actually felt and not feel judged or like I was bad. And yeah, and before, like after we got engaged, like I was very honest about the fact that I didn't want to get married in Mormonism and in the Mormon temple. But I think it's also just that feeling of like everyone expects this. And if you don't, especially with what had just happened with my uncle, not long after that, I had gotten this letter from my grandparents. And it was just kind of this random, 2-3 page letter that they had written me, kind of just ripping me apart. And I think from social media, I don't really know, like it's like hard because I'm like, I was still Mormon, like,
how bad could it have been?
Living that way. I'm like, I posted, maybe some pics at the beach in a bikini, or like I might have said damn or hell in like a Snap story. Like my bio was like little boobs, big dreams, which like I thought was hysterical.
I love it.
But I think that
they may have taken offense.
They would have seen that and, kind of approach me with like, you are just worldly and like you are like, you've lost your light and you're just like a disappointment and like I'm not a good example and all these things. And this was like not long after what had happened with my uncle, and these were his parents, my grandparents, and what I was going through with trying to come back, and be like activate myself in the church after kind of not going and confessing about, my virginity and getting my recommend back. And by the time Austin and I were trying to get married, like I had just gotten my recommend back right as I got this letter from my grandparents. And I found out that like my aunt was involved and had kind of instigated this whole thing, and I was really close to her and like really felt a connection with her. So to know that she was sort of part of this was like really hard. And
their sole purpose of the letter was to say, we're disappointed in you.
and just kind of chastise me of like, and they probably thought, well, we're kind of bearing some sort of testimony to you about how you're not being what you should be. And I remember confronting my aunt about it and her saying, well, we've just been really worried about you. And I love my family. I don't like wish them harm or anything. And I understand that like there's so many layers and complications to like all of these like things, but it's just interesting to me when like something like that happens, because it's just like, I haven't heard from you. I don't remember the last time you called me and said, hey, like, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Are you okay? And so that was like really interesting to feel like someone is sort of taking these things about myself that have now been like weaponized against me and trying to reframe it as like love and care and concern. And I think that was a big moment for me too. And subconsciously, I think part of me was like, I'm going to get married in the temple and I'm going to show all these people that I am
makes
a super
sense.
worthy Mormon and I can make this work for myself. And I just felt this pressure like, okay, I'm just going to be determined that like I'm going to figure out how to make Mormonism work for me. And like I'm going to give it this last hurrah and just believe that like getting married in the temple is going to solve all these problems that I have and it's going to fix me.
And you hadn't even been through the temple at that point. Yeah, which is another, I think, distinction is you don't understand what the temple is even going to be at that point. So it's, for those who don't know, who are listening, you can go through the temple for the endowment, which I can link something if you want to deep dive on that. It's a whole thing we don't need to get into right now. But I do think that it's different for people. Some people will go through, like I did my endowment and then I went on my mission and then I got married. So I was already wearing garments. I had kind of already done those steps where before you've done it, it's just so difficult to even, you just don't know until you know, right? So I can totally understand. And even if you still do know, I can completely understand that sentiment where it's kind of like, okay, my whole life also I've been told, make it to the finish line of temple marriage.
Yeah.
And, that is deeply programmed to like want to be the person who gets married in the temple.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think with what had happened with, this repentance process and things that I had been on, I think because of the pain and the shame, it's like I was trying to like, it was all kind of part of this, me trying to earn back my worthiness and even earn back my belief at a chance that my music career would still continue on. Because I think even at this time with my music career, things had ended with Big Machine prior to this happening with my ex. But then I was I'd signed a different deal in Nashville with this company called Big Yellow Dog, which amazing people, but it just like wasn't the right fit. And things got like difficult because they were just more connected in Nashville at the time than they were in LA, and they wanted me to move back. And so I started to kind of equate all of this to like, I'm just unworthy and I'm bad, and that's why things aren't like working out. So I need to like get my stuff together so that my career will work out. Like that's literally what I believe, that God was just fully in control and either punishing me or rewarding me based on how I was showing up in the religion,
It makes so much sense that that's how so many of us viewed it, because there's so many different doctrines I could point to that essentially say that, right? Yeah. And there are some things that are maybe like, if you are suffering, well, that's because God wants you to suffer, and maybe the suffering is because he just wants you to learn something or whatever. But ultimately, brass tacks is like, the better Mormon you are, the higher the likelihood that you will have a successful life in all aspects of it. Yeah. So you got married in the temple.
So I did. Got married in the temple. It was a bit of a shell shock going through.
I bet. Was that in Utah? Did you get married in Utah or in LA?
Utah, yeah.
Okay.
Salt Lake Temple. Yeah.
I actually wish I got married in the Salt Lake Temple. Side note.
It's beautiful.
I did the Provo City Center because it was, that's like the brick one, because it was new at the time. And anyway, but now I'm like, I got married in the temple. I may as well just have had it look like an actual temple. Like the city center is like kind of one that doesn't quite look like a temple. And I'm like, we should have just gone like full tilt and just done like the Salt Lake Temple or the Provo Temple, the other Provo Temple. But okay, you get married in the Salt Lake Temple.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a bit of a shell shock.
I had a really hard time with the garments. I think also as an artist, like I'm just so much of every part of my life is expression, and fashion and clothing is like such a passion of mine. And I had a really hard time. Like I threw so many clothes away, and I kind of had this big moment of like, okay, I have to, wear these kinds of things now where I'm like completely covered. And I think just for me, like I just had a really hard time with it. And I so had the fear of like, you hear people bear their testimony about getting in car accidents and wearing their garments and them surviving. And then it's equated to like, well, I was wearing my garments and that's why I lived and I survived. And so I started to get this intense anxiety and paranoia around, driving, like if I wasn't wearing my garments because maybe I had a show, or I just had one day that I was like, I really just want to wear this super cute top that shows my shoulders a bit, I would have like anxiety the whole day about like, if I get in an accident, I'm going to die because I'm not wearing my garments. And Austin was like, I would tell him these thoughts I was having and these things, and he was like, babe, like, no. Like, he didn't even wear his garments half the time, or he'd only wear the bottoms or whatever. It was just that he was so like loose and free with it, and he had a much different like experience than I did. And so he was kind of the one that was just like, that is not going to happen. Like, that's not real. Like, and that doesn't mean that someone can't believe that for themselves in their own belief, but like, it's just such an extreme way to like look at something and living, and to the point that it's causing you anxiety and the inability to like function and go places.
Yeah.
Is like not okay.
No, it's not okay. And
Yeah.
I would, like with the physical safety stuff, again, there are those stories. I remember hearing stories of people who got in horrific accidents and their whole body was burned except for where their garments covered, like things like that.
Yeah.
And so you are hearing those things that are reinforcing anxieties that I think many people already have. Some of us are even more prone to having, but then you just add that extra layer on it and it can get really intense really quickly. And then if your mental health is already maybe in a bad place, I feel like it just exacerbates the level that sort of messaging is affecting you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was really trying so hard, like after going through the temple, to believe, like I was like, okay, I've done everything. I've checked all the boxes, like, and I'm going to just keep going to the temple, and I'm going to keep going to church, and I'm going to fast, and I'm going to pray, and I'm going to read my scriptures. And it's like, I just started to kind of robotically like do everything like as like a way to kind of cope with how horrible I felt inside, and how much I knew this is not what I wanted to do or what I believed, but I was so afraid. And so I was just like operating in this way of like, yeah, extremism myself. And honestly, those years were probably the darkest, most sad, lonely, disconnected, depressed, anxious, like I have ever felt in my whole life, when I was trying so hard to be the best Mormon that I could be. And then they tell you that like, all of these things you're doing should make you feel good and should make you feel worthy and should make you feel this. And I didn't feel those things. And so then I'm like, what is wrong with me? And it's like this constant cycle of like turning on myself and abandoning myself and being like, why aren't you like, what, like I am the problem and I'm just innately bad and unworthy. And like, I'm just,
or else this would be working for me the way it's supposed to work and
for all
seems
these,
to work for
yes,
everyone else. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, it was very dark time. Like there was weeks I didn't get up off the couch. I couldn't get out of bed. I mean, I was just so depressed and lost and sad. And then it was also confusing because it's like this trade-off of like, okay, well, I'm being so righteous and perfect, like make my life better, And so it's like, God, like, hello.
Yeah,
like,
where are you?
Look at me.
Yeah.
I'm like being so good and perfect. And then I was just angry at God. And I just had kind of this anger and this like confusion. And it was so interesting because it got so bad that like Oz, my husband, he was like the first person that was just like, you maybe just should stop going. It's okay. this is obviously like putting you in a state where you're so unwell and like unhappy and like you're not okay. Like it is okay if this doesn't work for you. Like it is actually okay. And like nobody had ever said that to me in my life. And it was crazy because it was like, it's crazy to think that you have a light bulb, like that you've never thought that that's like an option. Like now that I'm out of it and I look back. But I think him saying that to me and just like the unconditional love that I already felt from the beginning of knowing and being with him and meeting him, like I felt this like safety with him of like, yeah. And he was like, let's go to another church. Let's not go to church at all. And he was still kind of going because he was still at the time, you know, in a little bit of a different place than me, but he was like a big part of kind of what helped me massively. Just like, and I told myself this one Sunday, I was like, hey, this is the last time I'm going to go. And it's so dramatic, but I was like, okay, God, like strike me with lightning, like do something crazy. Like I was like, I'm literally, I've tried so hard. It's like to the point that I am like unwell, but like I have given this everything I can and I really have tried. So like, if this is where I'm supposed to be, like,
it was an ultimatum with God, with Mormon God. Yeah, you're like,
my dramatic
show me
ultimatum.
now.
Lol. And I went to church and I only stayed for sacrament and I just it wasn't like a bad service or anything, but I just was so just like, I just don't feel anything. And I was driving home and I was kind of just like, okay. And I had this like feeling that was like in my body and just like in my mind that was kind of just like, I don't care. Like, I don't actually care. Be who you need to be and be like, go wherever you can be the best version of yourself. And I like really felt, whether that was God or my own just like spiritual knowing or just like, I don't know exactly what it was, but like it was this very strong feeling of just like, enough is enough. You're okay.
Yeah.
Just go where you need to go and do what you need to do. Be free. Yeah.
Wow. We were just talking about the Julie Hanks interview that
I loved
went
it
live
so
today.
much.
And I've just been thinking so much. I feel like that feeling you just described connects so much to what I feel like Julie is so good at articulating, which is like, it actually is your life.
Yeah.
And you get to choose.
Crazy. Like,
Crazy.
so crazy.
No, but truly, even,
Yeah.
I mean, I've been out of the church for quite a while now, and that is still a concept that I am constantly having to remind myself of because of how much most of my life up until leaving the church didn't feel that way. And I was just listening to what sounds like just massive dissonance you were experiencing for years that was causing severe depression, but yet you didn't even realize you had an option to just stop. Like because you don't feel like that's an option because of that loop that I also appreciate you describing so well, because you can just keep looping back around.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel shitty. Okay, maybe you would think then just leave the church or step away. But it's like, no. Because I'm going to church still, and they're telling me that the reason I feel shitty is because I'm not doing this well enough. Oh, I haven't read my scriptures today. That's probably it. Like, It's just this never-ending cycle that can be so mentally damaging.
Yeah.
It's a wild experience to come to that realization in life of like, maybe I actually just know what's best for me.
Yeah.
Not everybody else. Not my parents, not my grandparents, not the bishop. Like, actually just me.
Yeah. And that journey is a crazy one.
A crazy
Going
one.
on that journey.
Yes.
Of like trying to learn how to even trust your own
Absolutely.
intuition and knowing and
Yeah. How's it been for you? Was that did you go back after that, or was that your last time going?
That was my last time going.
And then what happened? How did you feel?
I felt immensely better. I felt peace for like the first time in years. I just felt like I was finally getting a glimpse of like myself again, or not even again, but just this self that I've always known is there, but I just didn't allow her to be there out of fear and all these different things. And I liked her a lot. And I was like, this feels like, it just felt like love, you know? And it's like, I look back at moments where I didn't feel God or love the way that, not ever in Mormonism. I definitely did feel God and love in different points, but like the way that I feel it now and the way that I felt it since I left, I just think I wasn't able to feel it that way, like because of all the stuff that was going on and all of the things I'd been taught to think and believe. And it was like all so convoluted and so complicated. And as soon as I was like free, it was just like everything felt so simple. It was just like, oh, just like be your best self and just try to be a good person and just like try to love people. And that just like helped me a lot to like keep going. But I think that all of that didn't go away. Like I was in therapy I've been in therapy consistently pretty much since I left, which I left when I was 23.
Yeah. So
Ish.
7-ish years.
Yeah. So since then I've been trying to rewire, and like the first couple years, even after I actually wasn't going, it was still so hard. And like everything you said, that you're still just like having these thoughts and feelings and fears and but slowly over time, like I've been able to find my own voice and find my own like inner knowing of like find my intuition again. And it's been such a beautiful thing. And like I'm so proud of who I am, and I'm like I love myself like genuinely so much. And it's just like it's crazy to think of how much I like hated myself at a time. It's like I feel like I don't know that person, but then I'm like I do.
Yeah.
And I won't forget like how that feels, you know, to be in that like on that side of things. But yeah, I did like a spiritual journey last year where I took a substance, and I had like a guide. And can I say what it was?
Yeah.
MDMA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I've been wanting to try that.
It was incredible.
I've been really wanting to try that.
If you ever need someone also.
Yeah, please.
Like she's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I had the most beautiful experience. Like she came to my apartment and we did this whole session, and I took it, and I had all these goals prior to, and like a lot of it was just grief with like my uncle, and also just trying to just let go of like the weight that you can still feel when you've kind of gone through something like this and you've left. But it's like, you know, I feel like I get this comment too where it's like, why can't you leave and just like leave it alone? Like people that say that. And it's like, I wish I could. And I've tried so hard to. And it's not that I don't want to leave it alone, but it's just like, it's a part of my story that is always going to be a part of my story. It's always going to be a part of who I am. It's a part of my art and my music and a piece of things that I'm sharing. So yeah, but the journey was incredible. I had so many beautiful moments, and it was so emotional and healing. And I had an interaction with my uncle where I felt him very strongly. And we had like this moment, and I felt, you know, this like peace that I haven't felt about all of that with him, and that wherever he is, like he's okay, and like he's loved, and he's thriving, you know?
Yeah.
And like that helped me like let go of that, of just like, okay, like I don't really know like heaven, hell, like all of that. I'm still kind of even figuring that out. But yeah, it's been beautiful. I've done a lot of mushrooms, which also has been amazing.
Love doing mushrooms. Yeah.
I love microdosing. I mean, that's helped with my mental health like immensely, because I was medicated for a while for like anxiety and depression, but I was able to go off of the medication that I was on and microdose psilocybin, and that has been like so incredible for me as well, and just helping me to have a different like perspective on things, because it's kind of also a heart mind opener. So it's allowed me to kind of step into my fullest, truest self even more, and really feel what that feels like, and then be able to like live more that way because I have a reference point.
Totally.
So it's been such a beautiful like healing thing.
Oh, I love hearing that. I feel like psychedelics are so useful for lots of things, obviously, as they have been proven to be, but it's that brain rewiring. And I feel the same way where it's like a felt experience that now I know what it feels like.
Yes.
And so then I can kind of, I can get back there in a way where before, for me, it's come through kind of like different pieces of that have come through I've done mushrooms, even just EMDR, where it's like, oh, remember you felt love for yourself. You felt trust in yourself. You felt that in your body, in your soul.
Yeah.
And so now I kind of have that place to come back to in a way I'm not really sure I had for a really long time.
Yeah.
So I can definitely relate to that. And I wanted to say too, it's so fascinating. Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah.
I feel like your persona is so unapologetically yourself, and you have such a fun, vibrant, spunky personality, and I've just always like felt that radiating off of you. And so I think to your point about, like, why can't you leave it alone and all of that, it's like I didn't realize, I guess, how hard that is for you to have that kind of self-love, because it feels so a part of you just from, even listening to your music and seeing how you hold yourself online. And I think it just makes it even more beautiful that you've fought really hard for that, because those are some really intense things to have to experience.
Thank you. That's like making me emo.
No, I mean it. I really mean it. And I want to talk about Poster Child and talk about the music side of things, which I feel like I said this recently a couple episodes ago, but I'm always so jealous of musicians, because I'm like, there is just something about music. It's just such a powerful, powerful art form. It's so powerful in connecting people. I know you've talked about these themes that we've discussed today in a lot of your music, but let's talk about Poster Child specifically, since that song just came out. Can you tell us a little bit about what inspired that song?
Yeah, I mean, kind of this whole episode, I feel like a piece of kind of a lot of almost everything I've shared. I think it's just growing up, I've done a lot of inner child work in the last few years and been trying to reconnect with like my younger self and kind of build back trust with my younger self. And these younger versions of myself where I was kind of very abandoned and I abandoned myself. And so trying to kind of find that again has been really hard. But like, as I have just like tapped into it more and like put the energy and time into finding her again, like I think this song was just unlocking her and letting her out of that box, like in a finality way of like, you grow up and people who listen to your podcast, it's like when you've experienced certain things, it's like being the kid who tries so hard to keep it together, tries so hard to do everything right and to be good and to be perfect. It's just like, this song is like me trying to be like, that is not the point. Like, that is not the point. Like, it's not about being perfect. It's not about fitting a box if it doesn't fit you. Like, and it's okay to like, sorry, I'm getting so emotional. It's like, it's okay to break out of it. It's okay to just like be who you are and like not say sorry for it and not feel bad about it. Because like I felt bad about who I was for so long and I was so scared to show that. And when you finally start showing it and you finally get a little bit of bravery to do that, it's just like, that's like one of the best things that's ever happened to me. And like the most like healing and freeing is just giving yourself that permission to just be who you are.
Yes.
So
yes.
That's what this song is. And it's, I love it so much. And I had so much fun making it. I made it with two of my really amazing friends in LA, Jules Brave and Nate Sander, who goes by Neighbored. And they are just some of the best people I've ever met. And they created such a safe space for me to like go there and even feel like, no, let's say this. Let's like not hold back. Let's like really say this. And they just were so supportive, and I just wanted to shout them out and just send so much love to them because it just like meant so much to me.
Oh, I bet. I feel like the collaborators are huge in being able to do that. I was going to say, it's so fun too. And that's what I love about you and your music is like, it's dealing with these really difficult, really heavy, really emotional themes, but it's also fun. And there's fun wordplay, and it's good music. So you're like moving to it. And I love kind of that interplay of, that's a big part of, I think, a lot of people's coping mechanism, right? Is finding humor, finding playfulness. And especially when you're writing a song about reconnecting with your inner child, it makes sense that there's a lot of that playful energy in it. And I think that that's something really special about your music, is that it has the emotional depth while also being very playful and very fun.
Thank you. That's definitely something that I've wanted with this whole EP that I actually have coming out. It's called Embarrassingly Alive. And it's just, I think that's kind of the theme, is just like finding ways to like poke fun and not take yourself too seriously. Because I feel like, I think that there's a lot of that in this world where things are taken so seriously and so literally, and we get so angry and defensive and hateful. And I think like this song for me especially was, I think I was scared to do that. And now that I've done it, I'm like, it's like addicting to just find humor in things and laugh at yourself and just like, just like let go, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm about to watch the like 4th Jody Hildebrandt, Ruby Frankie documentary. I don't know if you've been following any of that.
Yes, I have. I've watched the Hulu one.
Yes, there's another one. And I'm like, okay, I don't feel like I have to watch this one. And everyone's like, no, it's whatever. And I'm like, I can't resist. I'll probably watch it. But I was talking to my friend JC about the Hulu documentary, and she brought up this point that I've thought about so much since she said it, which is that for religious kids, depending, obviously, I think Mormonism mostly is this way. I think there's a lot of other religions that can't be this way. Our upbringing was very serious in a way that I think is unique, because you are worrying at a very young age about eternal salvation. You are worrying at a very young age about worthiness. You're worrying at 8 years old, okay, I just got cleansed of all my sins. Now the first sin I do after getting baptized is like God's in heaven writing it down in his book. Like those are really serious things. And as a child, it's also, you have less ability to like make sense of things like that. So it can feel even more intense.
Yeah.
And I guess I've just been thinking a lot about the value of humor and of play and of not taking things so seriously.
Yeah.
Because for so much of my upbringing, everything felt so serious.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to be like, it's not always that serious.
Yeah. That's so beautiful that you said that, and that you like noticed that too about the song. Like,
yes.
I really appreciate
No,
that.
I totally do.
I really do.
I listened to it like 6 times in a row yesterday. My girls like it too, my twins, and they are a hard sell right now.
Wow.
We are mostly listening. Have you gotten on the K-pop Demon Hunters thing at all? Have you heard of
absolutely.
this? Okay.
Yes.
Phenomenal music, but on the like 50th time at level 10, they now know how to use our Alexa. So they'll say, hey, Alexa, play Golden. And it's like, it's just very loud. So I was like, I'm listening to my friend's song, girls, and they let me play it over and over again. So high praise from the twins.
Wow, nice. That's a big deal. Like kids know what's
Kids
up.
know.
Kids
They
won't
definitely
lie.
know what's up.
Dang.
You alluded to this a little bit, but now that you've kind of crossed that barrier, you've been putting this out into the world. This song doesn't specifically reference Mormonism, but I think people who know, right? And it's like a clear theme of kind of like unpacking, deconstructing religious upbringing.
Yeah.
What has the response been?
It's been amazing and so much better than, like, I think when I initially like leaked this song, it's like anytime you put something out there that talks about these taboo topics, it's like you have to kind of brace yourself a little. But the response has been phenomenal. And the messages people have sent me of how it's like spoken to them or touched them or given like shed light and help them feel seen in a way that they haven't been able to, like I can't even express like what that means to me. Like it's so special. So there have been, you know, a few clunkers, and of course, but we love the trolleys because they get
boost
things
the algorithm.
going viral. Yeah. So I'm like, please fight in the comments.
No, literally, I'm always like, "Where's the Mormon commenting on my reel? I need a thread of people."
I know.
arguing about
I'm like,
this.
I gotta make the hook a little more angsty because
100%.
But yeah, it's been amazing. It's been really
so
special.
cool. I feel like that's such a huge part of this whole process is that connection and realizing like we have never been alone in it. And so many people in this phase of life are on a similar journey. So having someone like you to put words and music to their experience is just really invaluable. So thank you for doing that on all of our behalves.
Thank you.
When does the EP come out?
I don't have a date yet, but probably top of the year.
Okay.
I'm still like rapping some of the songs. Yeah.
How many songs qualify for an EP versus an album?
That's such a good question. I feel like I'm still figuring that out because I've never put out an EP, which is crazy, but I think it's 6.
It's going to be 6 songs.
I think if you have more than 6 or 7, it's technically an album.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have 6 songs for this EP?
I have more than 6.
Okay.
So I'm honestly in the process of like, do I just do an album?
Or do
I kind of trim it down? What I'll probably end up doing is an EP, but then it'll turn into an album.
Cool.
And I'll add the rest of the songs because I've just been making so many songs that I'm just obsessed with.
Yeah.
And it's been so much fun.
What is your songwriting process like? Do you start with words or do you start with melodies? Or does it depend?
It's different every time.
Really?
Like some of my songs,
interesting.
I hear the melody first, and then sometimes I have a specific concept and like lyric that I'm like, ooh, this feels like there's a lot of like gold mines creatively here. So yeah, it's different every time. And I think that's why it's so fun.
Yeah, because there's a lot of variety.
Yeah. And it's like starting from literally 0. And then I'm saying it's such a gift in like for me to like experience making music. I just like cannot believe that is like what I get to do.
It's so cool.
It's just like magic.
And it sounds like it is something, I mean, yeah, you're saying it's a gift in the way that you get to do it, but it sounds like it's also a gift that you have. I mean, you've been doing this since you were 5 years old.
Yeah, I think it is. Like, and I'm so thankful that I have it. Like, it's helped me get through everything I've been through.
Yeah.
Like, it's like that thing that's always there. And like being able to write a song like Poster Child that is like able to laugh about all of this stuff we've just talked about and kind of like step into it in this new like emotion and humor is like, I didn't know if I'd ever be able to do that at points.
Yeah.
So like the fact that I can, and music has helped me, and it's like I think of it as almost this like other thing that is like part of me, but it's just its own entity. I don't know.
Yeah.
Music is just it really is just like the most magic thing ever.
Oh, that's so cool. I cannot wait for your EP.
Thank
you for giving us the whole behind the scenes, story of it. I can't wait.
The girls need the tea.
The girls need the tea. And if they haven't listened yet, I can't wait to go listen now with all of this background. And thank you again. I know that, like you said, so much of that, I mean, it's always just a heavy topic to address in a lot of ways. But I think it's so important too, because at each like juncture of your story, I'm like, there will be people who experienced like almost exactly that. And they get to listen to someone like say that piece of their experience. That's why I love doing what I do, is because it's like the stories that connect people are just really powerful. I will link all the places people can go find you, can go find your music.
Thank you.
And seriously, thank you. I really just appreciate you being here and loved this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do. I know I already told you, but you've been such a huge inspiration to me, and you're just such a brave, bad bitch. And you're just so gorgeous. And I just am so in awe of you and like who you are as a person. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to share.
Oh, I really appreciate that. Yeah. I love I feel like the more people that allow themselves to like express in that authentic way, especially those of us who come from Mormonism and high demand religion, it really feels like a fire is growing, it's like, we're all giving each other permission in ways that I think we sometimes don't even realize, which is just like so special and so cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Like I
So
said,
welcome.
I'll make sure everyone knows where to find you. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Bye.